I remember I was newly sober and I was about to go on my first long business trip. And I went to an AA meeting and I was thinking, this AA thing's not going to work for me because I have to get on an airplane and go to parties. And the speaker in the meeting was an airline attendant who had been sober for 20 years, and had been passing out drinks. So that was also like a God shot, as we might call it.
Welcome to Life from Within, a show about transforming how we live and lead from the inside out. I'm your host, Kelly Dwyer. Today I'm joined by Laurel Donnellan, founder and CEO of Compassionate Leaders Circle. In this episode, Laurel shares how getting sober 34 years ago sparked a profound career pivot, the Lakota vision quest that clarified her calling, and the practical ways she helps people move beyond jobs into soul work. We talk about resetting purpose in uncertain times, turning worry into wonder, and why human connection still matters in the age of AI. To learn more about Laurel's work, go to compassionateleaderscircle.com and from the homepage, click Learn More about Purpose Club. Enjoy today's episode. Hi, Laurel. Welcome to the show.
I am so honored to be with you on your very first podcast. It's so exciting. Thank you for having me.
It's my honor. You've been a huge influence in my life, and the wisdom and support that you bring to me and to everyone that you interact with is a blessing. So thank you. All right, so let's dive in. When you think about your life and work and the inflection points that changed your trajectory, what feels like the right moment to enter into your story?
Well, what's on my mind and heart today is I'm going to be 34 years sober this month on September 20th. So I think actually stepping into my first AA meeting was an inflection point for my life and my career. Huge inflection point.
AA and getting sober is a huge inflection point for life. Absolutely. Tell me how it connected with your career.
Well, up until that point, and while I was getting sober, I was living out my 14-year-old's dream, which was being a hospitality executive. So I pretty much started when I was in junior high thinking about how I could run the Waldorf Astoria someday. And at that point in my career, I was part of an international group. I was the VP of Human Resources. I was doing well professionally. And at the same time, dealing with my eating disorder and alcoholism was not really a great match for hospitality and running around the world and being in airports and drinking free in first class and all those things. So I really had to figure out a way away from hospitality and figure out a way to make a living in a way that was honoring of my spirit and my talents.
Yeah. The realization you had was, hey, this career is incompatible with me living a sober life and with me living a healthy life.
Yeah, especially in early sobriety, because it's a little more intense. After 34 years, I can be in lots of situations and know that I'm not going to drink. But when you're really trying to get sober, it's tougher when you're around alcohol all the time.
Yeah, it is. I'm almost 5 years sober now, and the holidays are still tough. They're still tough.
Yeah.
Most of the rest of the year is okay, but the holidays,
Yeah.
there's a you feel the impulse come up. Well, I do. Not you. I do.
Well,
okay. Yeah.
Sometimes I do. It's not completely gone. It's really not.
Yeah.
I feel like it's embedded in me through generations of drinkers and drinking and holidays, and it doesn't really go away entirely.
No, it's embedded through generations, and then society just supports it, reinforces it. So makes it a double challenge. Okay. So you had this realization, can't do this career anymore. So what happened then?
Well, I focused on getting sober despite that. I mean, I remember I was newly sober and I was about to go on my first long business trip. And I went to an AA meeting and I was thinking, this AA thing's not going to work for me because I have to get on an airplane and go to parties. And the speaker in the meeting was an airline attendant who had been sober for 20 years, and had been passing out drinks. So that was also like a God shot, as we might call it, to, yeah, you could do this. So I did complete working at that company well, and I can remain sober, but I was able to be part of a sale of a company and make some money and figure out what to do next. So it all coincided with my spiritual journey and my professional journey, and then making a huge pivot a couple years into my sobriety after we sold the company that I was a part of.
Okay. Pause for a moment. What's a God shot?
A God shot is, for me, it's like a God wink. It's like if you're paying attention, there's clues or direction, good orderly direction, sometimes we call it. So, yeah, it was sort of, if this wonderful woman can be sober for 20 years and pass out drinks every day, you can get on a plane and not drink.
Yeah. It's sometimes the power of actually meeting a living example is huge.
Yeah.
It makes the possibility real. I love that. Good orderly direction. God shot. Okay, so you had a little bit of money from the sale. You're getting your legs under you with your sobriety. You were figuring out what's next. Now, you have said that you went on a Lakota vision quest, and from that came the seed and the vision for what was next. Tell us, first of all, what is a Lakota vision quest?
Well, in my experience and story, the AA experience was connected to the Lakota Vision Quest because I actually met someone who's become one of my very best friends in AA, and she was going to do this thing called Vision Quest, and I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but I just I wanted to be her friend. I felt like I was in high school in early AA. I was like, I want that girl to be my friend. So I was like, I'll go to Vision Quest with you. And I didn't know what I was doing. I ended up arriving at a ceremony with 100 people. Some of them were full blood Lakota people from South Dakota. There's lots of people from all over the country and all over the world. And they were practicing traditional Lakota ceremonies. And it was the vision of a group of Lakota chiefs that they would teach their ceremonies to lots of people in lots of different races, and it would heal the races. So I fell into this path, and I was a visitor, a respectful visitor and participant for many years in Lakota traditional ceremonies sanctioned by Lakota people. And a vision quest is one of their ceremonies where you find your place in the tribe. In my case, it was not a traditional Lakota tribe, but my place in the world, really. And in that process, yes, I had this vision for something at the time that was called Career Camp, that's evolved into Compassionate Leader Circle. And I attribute my business and the creation of my business to that ceremony.
So if you could describe in a line, a sentence or two, what your place in the world is as a result of that experience, what is it?
Translating ancient wisdom into modern practical practices that connect people beyond jobs into calling, or what we call soul work.
Mhm. Mhm. Now, I've had the honor of being a participant in your work as well as being a guide for others. And you talk about soul work. Tell us a little bit about what is soul
Yeah.
work? How does that show up? What's the work that Compassionate Leader Circle is doing in that
Yeah.
realm?
Thank you for the question, and thank you for being my partner in this process for so many years. I actually flashed on you going to graduate school and me talking to you from a Vision Quest on my cell phone, which I wasn't supposed to be on. So you and I have had a long, interesting journey. But soul work, the way that I define soul work is the absolute best use of your passions and purpose. And that can be volunteer pursuits, family pursuits, vocational pursuits. Soul work is different for everyone, but it's sort of that thing that you're meant to do, you can't help doing. I mean, I really think of, being on the journey with you through motherhood, like motherhood for you was a calling, and um, for me, not, but aunthood is my, family calling. So it's honoring these pursuits and these paths and these relationships in a deeper way.
Yeah. We love Auntie Laurel here.
I love your son, Cormac.
Oh. Okay, so you got sober, you went on the vision quest, your place in the world became clear, and you built a business around it. And so this business has had many iterations. As you think about the iterations over the years and the versions of Laurel over the years, what's a point in time where you were really stretched because of the
Yeah,
business?
yeah. I'm reminded of a time when I was living in my sister-in-law and brother's apartment in Austin, Texas. This business and these learning models took me a lot longer and cost me a lot more in time and money than I thought they would. It involved graduate school and iterations and writing and research and traveling. And so I decided to step away from my business and look for a job. And I help people every day get jobs. I'm a career coach. I'm really good at resumes and interviewing and teaching other people how to interview. And I applied for 400 jobs and I got to a very cool job. At the time, I thought it was a cool job, but I'm so grateful I didn't get it. I was one of two candidates for a director of training for Facebook, and the job was in Austin and Ireland, and I love Ireland. And I convinced myself that it was my dream job, and I didn't get it. And after a long time of doing everything I thought I could do to get a job, I realized that I already had a job and it was my company, and I had to re-choose my company. I think there's also something real about, after being an entrepreneur for so many years, I think it's really hard to go back to the structure. Now, long term, it was such a blessing I didn't get that job, because since then I've learned a lot about Facebook. And part of my mission personally and professionally is to support children and support teens, and what Facebook has done with their algorithms is appalling and not really aligned with my principles. So I'm very glad I work for myself and not for Facebook. But this is a common story with entrepreneurs. There's many times where you risk so much of time and money, and sometimes you do have to do other things for money while you're building your business. And I
Hmm.
have done that, but in this case, it was, I think, another God shot. The universe was saying, you have something else to do, and it's not this.
Yeah, the image that's coming to mind is there's a brick wall, and we keep it's when we're beating against the brick wall trying to make something happen or get to the other side of that. And if we just looked over towards our right, we would see a window that had an opening, and all we had to do was maybe lift the window a bit, and then there's a path
Yeah,
for us. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, okay, so you've worked with many people over the years. When a client has that experience and you're highly intuitive, I know this about you. And when a client is committed to a path that they're continually getting the feedback, no, this isn't it. This isn't it. How do you help them? How do you support someone in that way?
Well, our work really reflects and mirrors a vision quest. It's not a traditional vision quest, but it is a process about tapping into spirit and tapping into imagination and tapping into creativity and tapping into humanness. So, one thing my clients have the advantage of that I did not at the time is they have a partner in thinking and guiding, right? So, I remember even thinking at that low point, like, I need a career coach like me to guide me through. I did have some really wonderful therapists and spiritual guides, but when I can't point out to a client that they're having trouble, or that is the wrong path, I have to help them through a process where they, more than anything, understand where the windows are, right? So part of our process is just opening up to possibilities that we may not have been able to see on our own and
Mhm.
exploring lots and lots of options.
Mhm.
In my case, one of the options, which I was for a while not willing to look at, was you can make your own business work. Right. So for my clients and for the people like yourself who is a practitioner of our method, we may have some very clear ideas or intuitions about what our clients should do, but we have to lead from behind and we have to help them get there without us getting too far ahead of them.
Right. So your methodology, it has 3 phases: past, present, and future. And what I've come to really wholeheartedly trust is in the process. So,
Yeah.
as a coach, if when I'm guiding someone through the methodology, what I love about it is when I have those moments, and every coach has these moments of like, "Oh, I want them to go faster," or "I want them to see this," or "Is this gonna work?" Right? There's a niggle of a doubt. "Oh my god, is this gonna work for them? I really want this to work for them." And then I remember, okay, the methodology has wisdom in it. It has been crafted and refined over decades, and I have seen it work over and over and over again. And when I say work, it could be that someone falls in love with their work, the work that they
Right.
have. And so there doesn't need to
Right.
be a transition. Or it could be that they're going to meet the moment and find the courage to jump into being an entrepreneur. Or it's stepping into a bigger vision for themselves as a leader, whatever it
Yeah.
looks like.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite cases is someone who had their own business and realized they wanted a corporate job, right?
Yeah.
Like there's lots of ways to find soul work and it may be surprising. But yeah, even as the author of the process, it is wiser than I am. It's more patient than I am. It is really truly connected to ancient wisdom that is beyond it may not make sense, but it works.
Hmm. Well, I think it makes sense. And it works. Okay, so what's stretching you now in your business, in your career?
Well, my in my life and in my business and in my country, what's challenging me now is what's going on with the world, um, and what's going on with my country. Entrepreneurs always face changes that are beyond their control. It could be COVID, it could be shifts in the market. So, what is challenging me now is looking at the reality of the American economy right now and pivoting the business into a place that we can do service and we can be profitable. So, we had our best year in 2024, and we're having a very challenging year this year. And some of that is completely related to economic forces. Education changes are one of our biggest pipelines that we developed last year was in K through 12 schools. I actually get excited about resetting and redoing. So we're kind of pivoting back to consumers and helping people with their personal purpose. Not that we're going to stop doing bigger enterprise programs, but they seem to be slow in coming. So we're focusing on doing service for people who may be, out of work or thinking about whether they're going to have a job because of AI, or all those questions that really impact a person's mental health and their family's financial health. So,
I'm curious, as you're pivoting, knowing that there is spirit and wisdom embedded in the methodology, what are some of your personal practices that help you stay aligned to spirit and ultimately helped you make this decision to pivot?
one of my big practices is traveling. So, last year I was in London and Bath, and I did some meditation and reflection and writing about what the future of my company would be. And I made a decision to play in 3 different sandboxes at once and see what spirit would throw back at me. So my sandboxes and the company's structure right now is consumers, professionals, and leaders who want to invest their own money in their development, um, organizations and universities that want to impact their students or staff or alumni, and K through 12, which is really about not-for-profits and schools. And because I made that decision more than a year ago, we've been able to play out those 3 scenarios and land with, okay, we're going to focus on consumers. So sometimes I think it's important not to choose, but to experiment and see, and that takes faith. Business consultants will say you have to have your niche, you have to have your focus, you have to have your plan. But in turbulent times, it doesn't really serve you. And fortunately for me, I can hold a lot of things in my head and my heart at the same time. I think part of what we do in our business is go to where the pain is. And, as compassionate people, we want to alleviate suffering. So I think in this world of AI and online and all these things, people are sort of craving community, craving connection, and they need more help than they think they need. So, yeah, we're excited about continuing our other things, but focusing on, how can we serve the folks that are worried? One of the things I like to think about is, and even for myself personally, is turning worry into wonder. So, kind of to circle back, what are my practices? I recently wrote an article about the 4 steps to reset your professional purpose and career direction. And I did that process for myself. And my purpose for the rest of the year is to make more money and have more fun. And that's it.
Okay. I like it.
And maybe have more fun comes first, because there's lots of ways to make money, but my team and I need to have more fun.
Okay. More fun it is.
Yeah.
You've mentioned AI a couple times. And, AI is one of those, for me, it's a worry. It's also a tool. And it's really interesting living with the question, the worry, the wonder in the moments where it doesn't feel like worry of, okay, how is this going to impact me and my family as well as the world? But as a human, I worry about my own safety and my own thriving and my family's safety, right? So of course I'm going to worry about, okay, is it going to replace me? I'm also using it. I'm learning about it and I'm using it every day to help me. What have you seen come up around AI with the work that you all are doing with clients?
So many things. But a year ago, I did a executive retreat, and there was 20 people in the room. And in the morning of that retreat day, and I think I led 2 days, I asked ChatGPT to write a paragraph about the CEO of the company. And then in that morning, I said, "Oh, a friend of mine wrote this about your CEO." And I read it, and I asked everyone, "Who do you think wrote that?" And no one could guess. And then I told them. And even the director of marketing said, wow, that's really good. And then I asked them all, how many of you have ChatGPT on your phone? And one of them raised their hand, and it happened to be the oldest person in the room, which I thought was awesome. I doubt that if I did that same exercise with them, that I'd have the same answer today, right? And that's just in a year. I think all of us in the world have a responsibility to learn about AI because it's here, it's beyond, it's coming, it's here. There's lots of implications. I think a lot of them are good and a lot of them are dangerous, but they're already affecting, I think was been 25 million layoffs in this country this year already. And it's affecting everything. And the people that are resistant to it, I tell them, not learning about AI and not using it and not learning the options is kind of like me 30 years ago saying, I'm never going to use an ATM machine. I'm always going to cash my checks with a human, right? Can see how that went. But I do think knowledge is power, and there are going to be a lot of jobs that are going to be eliminated by robots and AI. There just are. And I'm not worried about myself because I think a lot of what I do is not really replicable by a human. I mean, there's lots of people in our field in coaching and leadership development that do believe that, but I'm choosing not to believe that. I'm choosing to believe that human conversations are healing, and there's going to be an element of folks that just want human connection and real people. Um, but I'm fascinated with it, and my journey is just beginning on learning about it.
Okay, more to come on AI. The conversation will continue, right?
Yeah, I am actually interviewing someone who um, is a leader of a coding school, and has this argument that we still need to teach coding. So I'm excited about having that conversation with him and learning more. But I think embracing it and making it the learning process as fun as possible is going to be important for everyone who wants to survive this.
Okay, so it's time to wrap up, reflect on the conversation that we've had today. And if there is one takeaway that you want our listener to take, what is that?
I think returning to this idea of purpose is going to be only helpful. So I would ask listeners to ask the question, why am I working? Because if you can answer that, then you have your purpose.
Mhm.
And that can be different. For some people, it's to put my kids through college. For other people, it's creative expression. But ask yourself that question. And if you don't like the answer, change the answer.
I love it. On that note, I think we should wrap. Laurel, thank you for your time. I've enjoyed this conversation, and I can't wait until the next time we reconnect.
Well, your listeners are very, very lucky. I'm excited about your podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to Life from Within. See the show notes for links and resources mentioned in today's episode. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, follow, and share it with friends and family who might enjoy it too. You can also leave a review. It helps others discover and benefit from the podcast. Until next time, keep living and leading from the inside out.